Hello and welcome back to LEAP's new video series, the Regional Resiliency Report. My name is Caitlin Lindstrom. I'm the Marketing Content Manager here at LEAP. And this month, you're going to be hearing a little bit from President and CEO Bob Trezise about our latest efforts with Restart grants to the local small business community. That's been a huge focus for LEAP since we've had to kind of pivot what our programming looks like in this new world. But today, I'm joined by our Vice President of Business Attraction, Keith Lambert, to talk about some of our traditional business attraction efforts, which are still active and moving. So let's talk about that. What's been going on?
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of activity, and I think in a lot of senses the world's changed since COVID hit us in March, and it was pretty severe for a while, and businesses in different industries are really just figuring out how to adapt. And while there's definitely hardship out there in the economy with the crisis going on, there's also opportunity. And for instance, we've seen about a half dozen leads come through that have all been related to personal protective equipment, PPE, and looking at localized manufacturing in the United States for that, because a lot of companies have been sourcing those types of things, masks and face shields and gloves and all sorts of medical PPE type things, that the United States needs to produce more of those things right here in Michigan, right here in Lansing.
Awesome. So what are some of the recent companies or attraction wins that have been happening in the area and continuing to move forward?
Yeah, well, we've had a number of our large ones from the last few years that have been announced at different stages that are moving forward. The construction cycle, which was actually at an unprecedented level, over $3.5 billion of active construction projects in the region before COVID, almost the entirety of that has continued on. So construction as an industry was only shut down for about 30 days or so for the most part. But big projects that a lot of people are familiar with, like the dairy processing facilities up in St. John's with Glanbia and Dairy Farmers of America, those are back online. That's a $555 million project that's going to be up and running in almost exactly 1 month from now. They're starting operations on October 20th. And for that massive 18-month construction project, they were able to get through and find efficiencies and actually not slow things down by a single day due to COVID. So that one's exciting. The McLaren Hospital and Cancer Center they were delayed, I think, a few weeks, but they're right on track for the launch in the next year or so. So that's really exciting. But in general, it was amazing that the pace at which construction kind of picked back up and continued going. But one of the projects that we just actually recently announced since COVID, which was pretty amazing because it's an international company, but Continental Oceans Technology Corporation. And they're a tech company that is essentially designed around providing a whole suite of services for traveling international travelers, to connect them to communities like them and help them understand wherever they're going, the types of restaurants and housing providers and all sorts of services for people that are traveling to different locations. And they're Chinese nationals themselves. Some of them are international students from MSU or alumni from Michigan State University. And they've built this company and they're launching their US footprint. And they started leasing about 2,500 square feet of space off of Jolly Road in Meridian Township. In like the end of March, they signed that lease, which that was the kind of shocking part about it, because it was right at like the height of all this kind of pessimism and a lot of worry around the world about the pandemic. And you have this Chinese technology company saying, yeah, let's go for it. And they're betting on the future and betting on the opportunity that we're going to come out of this stronger than ever.
Awesome. Is there anything exciting on the horizon that you can share a little bit about? Anything that we should be kind of on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things. The pipeline is strong, and we've been committed to keeping operating with core competencies and business as usual as much as possible. So the investment attraction work that I do has very much continued. And again, we've seen a lot of new opportunities come out of that. The biggest challenge that we face is that, especially office users, a lot of them are kind of in a holding pattern, just trying to take a look at their footprints and analyze, if now is the time to make a decision. So a lot of things are kind of on hold or delayed. But as I mentioned, all the stuff that's under construction, for the most part, is continuing. We have a big project that hasn't been publicly announced yet that's underway with construction at Holt and Holloway Road in Delhi Township. So we're excited to get that one out publicly with the company name and everything in due time. And yeah, just there's a lot kind of this all just percolating, and the companies are very much spending time and effort looking at new opportunities. I think they're going to be kind of in that holding pattern until maybe early 2021 to bite the bullet. So we're doing a lot of that due diligence with them at this time.
Awesome. Well, it's exciting to hear that things are still active and moving forward and growing. I think that it's definitely a testament to the resilience and strength of our region that we're able to continue at this pace, even as the world is kind of shifting in its landscape quite a bit.
Yeah, and in general, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and that's obviously a critical thing for us. The more there's business uncertainty, the more there's just question marks about the people making decisions about where to put facilities. Like that, they just have to kind of hold out hope. But the fact that they're actively working and planning and figuring those things out with us is really promising. And I think specifically for the Lansing region, about 500,000 people, I think we're a really nice kind of middle market in terms of population, and we're a little bit spread out. You can very easily get to rural communities in 10 or 15 minutes from our urban core. So I really feel like we're kind of that Goldilocks that's in between these large, really crowded, dense urban areas, which in general we're also hit harder with COVID, with an easily spread respiratory virus. So I think people are kind of craving that, a little bit more sense of safety and normalcy, and I think they can find that in like a market our size. It's a little bit more spread out. That they can get away from things, they can socially distance and still live their lives pretty normally, which might be harder to do in some of the bigger cities. The Lansing region's really resilient in terms of its employment situation too, and the industry mix. And we're lucky to have strong employment in a number of industries that are affected a little bit less. So jobs that can be worked remotely. So that's a big plus for us. And then I mentioned that all the momentum we had with the construction and new project activity pre-COVID, we really see that translating into a pretty rapid recovery here in the middle of the state of Michigan, and we hope the rest of the state is right there with us.
Now that we've heard some more about LEAP's ongoing attraction work, we'll get an update on the Lansing Region Restart Grant Program from President and CEO Bob Trezise.
Hi, everybody. Well, LEAP has been, first and foremost, been working so hard on the Restart grants that some of you have heard about. We've been working on these the last 60 days. It's been an enormous lift, both, I would say, heartbreaking and rewarding kind of work. But this is a great opportunity for LEAP to deliver $5.3 million to 412 small businesses and not-for-profits throughout Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham County. We've had an amazing process. We received almost 1,700 applications, so sadly, we only have enough money to distribute to about 25% of the applications. But it is going to do a lot of good in our community. It's another great way to uplift our small business community and make sure that they are bridged to a better moment in time when they can get back fully on their feet and when our economy can be fully ramped back up. But it's been an enormous effort. I want to thank our diversity, equity, and inclusion service providers, and also our 60 reviewers from across the three-county area who all together have added their expertise and their willingness to assist us with making sure that every single application got 2 reviews, that we had a multi-tiered process, that we removed all conflict and bias, and that we equitably distributed the money not only throughout the three-county area, but also to meet the state mandate of a minimum 30% of the money distributed to underrepresented communities. That would be women, minorities, and veterans. We locally also added persons with disability. So I think we've got it right. I think we've got the right balance. And very shortly here, we look forward to, with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, making those announcements. And lastly, I really want to thank the federal government for making this COVID-19 funds available, to the state legislature for trusting agencies like LEAP to distribute this money to our local small business community, and of course to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Also, the Capital Area Michigan Works and Small Business Development Center of Lansing are key partners as well. So thanks a lot. I look forward to making this announcement very, very shortly. I think it's going to make a big difference, and LEAP has put everything we have into this, night and day, weekend work, to make this happen.
Finally, we'll close out this month's episode with Dick Peffley of the Lansing Board of Water and Light, this month's LEAP member feature. I am here with Dick Peffley of the Lansing Board of Water and Light, one of LEAP's member businesses, and we're going to learn a little bit more about what the Board of Water and Light does. So can you tell us about the Lansing Board of Water and Light?
Sure. Hello, fellow members. I'd be happy to tell you about a few things that are new and exciting. Obviously, our Delta Energy plant, that's our combined cycle gas plant that we're building out in Delta Township. Its purpose is to take the board from coal to 100% renewable power over a span of about 20 years. It's a $500 million project, the biggest project the Board of Water and Light's ever undertaken. And as you can imagine, those projects are tough on a good day, but throw COVID into the mix and it's a giant headache. But what I can tell you, we still plan on completing the project on budget and about 3 months behind schedule. So the plant will start producing energy in about August of 21. So we're very excited about that coming online. We've got a great group of contractors and employees out there working on it, and they're working and staying safe. So we're very pleased about that. Next exciting thing going on is we just completed our IRP, Integrated Resource Plan, and we did one about 5 years ago. When we went back out to community and said, you know, are we going in the direction that you want us to go? Where are you thinking the Board of Water and Light should be when it comes to renewables? Where do you want your energy to come from? Well, we have increased our renewable portfolio. We are now looking at 50% clean energy by 2030, and we will be carbon neutral by 2040. Those are very, very aggressive goals when you look at other utilities, but we don't miss our goals, so we will get this done. And I also want to remind everybody, if you want 100% renewable power, we can supply that to any customer right now, business or residential, for about a 10% premium over your existing bill. So we're very excited about that. When we get this plan integrated, we will have reduced our carbon emissions by 80%.
Awesome. So why is transitioning to renewable energy and reducing carbon emissions rapidly and at such a scale important?
Well, it's the right thing to do for the planet, and it's great business practice. We have extensive investments in solar and wind. We have solar projects right here in Delta Township. We have a large project coming online next year up in Shiawassee County. We own wind up in Ithaca. We also just had about a month ago a very large wind project come online in, called Pegasus Wind, and that's in Tuscola County. So the Board of Water and Light is expanding out to get these renewables and bring that energy back to the Lansing region.
Awesome. What advice do you have for business owners who might be looking to integrate a little bit more sustainability into their energy practices and consumption?
Just give us a call. Our strategic planning group would be happy to talk to you about ways that you can save on energy and how to get more green energy into your businesses.
Awesome. So I know you touched on this a little bit, talking about the new plant being built, but how has COVID and obviously this pandemic pivoted the way that you serve your customers and the way that you're doing business?
Well, right now out of 700 workers, we have 325 working from home. That's different. Everything's done via Zoom or Teams. We still have what I call our boots on the ground. They're out there working safely to keep our utilities up and running. So, you know, that's a challenge where every day we have to monitor all the protocols that are put in place through the executive orders to make sure that our workers and our customers stay safe. So it's a challenging task, but right now we are knocking on wood that we have not had a single worker test positive for COVID, and we don't want to take that for granted.
Awesome. What is your favorite part of working for the Board of Water and Light?
Fridays? No, let's see. My favorite part of working for the board is the customers. Our customer base is so good to work with. I mean, we are hometown people, hometown power. We live it. Our employees are great. So I've been doing it for 45 years, and I'd like to continue doing it for a while longer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us and helping us learn a little bit more about how Board of Water and Light is supporting our communities. And we look forward to our continued partnership.
I appreciate all the work that LEAP is doing. It's a great asset to the community. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you here next month for the next edition of LEAP's Regional Resiliency Report.